The internet, thank you for watching. My name is Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, currently ranking and reviewing every single Frank Zappa album released after he passed away in December of 1993. I've done the ones released during his life elsewhere on this channel, and out of the 55 released afterwards, I am currently on number 16, Buffalo. This is a 2-disc set of a complete 1980 concert. This was released in 2007. The show is specifically from October 25th, 1980. Buffalo. This is the band that is Vinnie Colaiuta is back after being gone in like the spring, summer. This is his last tour. This is Arthur Barrow's last tour. This is Steve Vai's first tour. Ike and Ray are there. Bob Harris is there for his only tour. And that's it. Yes, there's nobody else. Right, I got everybody. Oh, and Vinnie Colaiuta, I said, oh, and Tommy Mars, of course. And Tommy Mars is still just there. He would be still around till 82. But a great band, a tight band, a really highly skilled band. And for me, what this release and this show shows more than anything else is like the one single factor that can elevate a release higher, or closer to number one that it probably should be are really incredible guitar solos. This show has 7 Zappa guitar solos. That is it. But each one is so ridiculous and so magnificent and such an event that I'm able to overlook a lot of the things I actually don't like about this release. Well, one, it is a live show. So because it is a complete live show, and it is a complete show, there are no substitutions, no tracks left out, none of that. You have a complete show for once. You're gonna get things you don't like. I'm gonna get things I don't like, and the things I always complain about: Bobby Brown, that's here. Keep It Greasy, that's here. Honey, Don't You Want a Man Like Me, that's here. They're here. But because it's a live show, I'm expecting them. They're in the context of other things and things I wouldn't normally hear them, sandwiched between. And Frank does me the favor of spacing them out throughout this entire show, so I don't have to put up with all 3 of them at once, as say on You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore, Volume 3. But the guitar solos are ridiculous. If you get this, like it opens up with Chunga's Revenge. And the Chunga's Revenge is like, if the 70s version of Chunga's Revenge was like an elephant or like a rhinoceros just kind of tearing things apart, just this powerhouse, this one is like a cheetah on the prowl, or like a jaguar or a mountain lion. It's sleek, it's a little more, just undercover, but it's more deadly probably, and probably able to kill you a little more efficiently. It's just an incredible opener. But after you listen to the solo and you're completely blown away, because you will be, it's just Frank at his fiercest, think to yourself, this is the worst solo of the show, because this is going to be the worst solo of the show, which is how incredibly ridiculous good the other solos are. So what happens is, this opens with Chunga's Revenge, and then you get a bunch of things that don't have solos in them. And so, but Frank, I think, does a good job of mixing them up and sort of like, going from one, fooling around with You Are What You Is for a couple songs, then throwing in an oldie, then a couple new Joe's Garage, some new stuff. It's a nice balance of old and new. So after the Chunga's Revenge, you get You Are What You Is, Mud Club, The Meek, Chill, and Hair and Nothing. This is their second tour. They're still not quite as just impressive as they would be, by the following year. You Are What You Is does not contain that Ray White sort of singing at the end, I don't know, I just, when he goes off like that, which I think is the highlight of You Are What You Is. That's not here. It's just repetitiveness. But like Arthur Barrow and Vinnie Colaiuta, I mean, at any point in time, if you just focus in on what the two of them are doing, they are like, this is them at their most manic. They're most like hyper. They're most like, we're going to do whatever we want to do because Frank has given us a freedom and he trusts us. Like, they are all over the place. It's what makes the solo so incredible, and it's what brings to life so many of these songs. If you really just like focus in on what those two are doing. Then you get a Cosmic Debris, which works really nicely here. Crowd recognizes it. Steve Vai gives us a really good solo in it. It's a fun Cosmic Debris. Then you get a Keep It Greasy. Pretty high energy, kind of relatively new song on Joe's Garage, came out the year before. You get a Tinseltown Rebellion, which is still in a somewhat developmental stage. It's a little bit different when they go into the chorus part of it than it would be and for like 81, 82, 84. So that's kind of neat to hear, but it's still Tinseltown Rebellion. And then at the end, that goes into Frank reciting the lyrics to Drowning Witch while the band does that meltdown sort of thing where they just kind of play behind him and react to what he is saying. And Frank does that, there's a ship arriving too late to save a drowning witch, that sing speak thing, which I can't say I really like. This is about, what is it? It's like 2.5 minutes long. It's probably a minute longer, maybe a minute and a half longer than it should be. But it is interesting that all of the lyrics to Drowning Witch are here. Like, the lyrics came first because all of them are here. And then, you know, by next tour, they would be developed into this monster song. But that is kind of interesting. That goes into Honey, Don't You Want a Man Like Me. Frank forgets the words a lot. There's a neat little musical reference thrown in after he had an Irish setter, which instead of that, it's a little Irish thing that Ike sings. So that's a new little twist in that. So that's kind of fun. But it's Honey, Don't You Want a Man Like Me. So, but then the monster part of the show, over an hour, I think I counted it. It's like over an hour of just utter monstrosity. You get a Pick Me, I'm Clean. 10.5 minute, 10 plus minute Pick Me, I'm Clean. The guitar solo is a beast. If you listen to the Tinseltown Rebellion, Pick Me, I'm Clean, that thing is like an innocent little toddler compared to the absolute monster that this Pick Me, I'm Clean is. This is Vinny, Arthur, and Frank just tearing up the landscape, just like going at it as hard as they can. It is amazing how it sounds chaotic for like 30 to 40 seconds, and then Vinny or Arthur will lock into some groove, and all the solos, and all of a sudden it sounds like, oh, we purposely meant to be here. This is where we were going the whole time. But you know, it was just like they locked into something and rode that for 30 seconds, and then they abandoned it, and things are free form for a while, and then Frank takes them in another direction, and it's like, it's amazing. Like, these solos are just like absolute events. But unlike, say, the 84 or even the 88 solos, for some reason they really feel like part of the song, because the energy in all of these songs is so high all of the time that the solos just feel like a natural extension of the chaos, the frenetic pace that this show is. So you get Pick Me, I'm Clean. That goes into Dead Girls of London, which has a really nice Steve Vai-led solo jam, short little thing at the very end of it. That goes into Shall We Take Ourselves Seriously, a beautiful song. These two should have stuck around for 84 and 88. I would have loved to see Dead Girls of London by the 88 band. Then you get City of Tiny Lights. This band does City of Tiny Lights better than any other band, in my opinion. Ray White owns it. The ending craziness where Frank conducts it, I think, is more fun and just more unpredictably weird in this. And the solo on this version in particular, in fact, all the City of Tiny Lights for this tour are ridiculous. But I'm not really sure what's happening in like the first minute and a half of the solo. At first, I thought it was a heavily distorted. First time I heard it was like a heavily distorted bass solo. Because it is just some of the ugliest noise I have ever heard. All low notes, just sounds like a fully on 11, fully distorted bass solo. But then when Frank finally kicks into like higher up the fret, and you know it's a guitar, it does sound like the same instrument. And I don't know. Like at some point, like Barrow's buried in the mix, and I don't know. It is an amazing solo, but it is ugly. It is just in your face, disgusting. And Vinny is setting up what feels like almost there's a doom groove for a while that he rides before abandoning that, and just the textures, the flavors, the ugliness. This is by far the best City of Tiny Lights I think that has been released, and this tour is probably. You could release more shows from this tour just because these solos are so fantastic, and City of Tiny Lights is one of those. Then, no, you don't get a Relax. You get Easy Meat. Easy Meat is, again, Easy Meat. And when we get to the solo section, it almost feels like Frank's going to give us some breathing space, because it's kind of like, we're kind of more like a Yo Mama buildup. But then, no, this is the one where Vinny sets up the doom thing. I'm sorry. City of Tiny Lights, it's just frenetic pace. But it seems like we're going to get this calm sort of thing. and then Frank just does this, like plays this riff over and over, almost like a King Crimson type, early 80s type thing. And Vinny just plays this like, just this doom drum riff underneath it that just gives it this unsettling texture. And then we go off into crazy easy meat freeform land, and then Barrow at the end of it starts playing like this, like these arpeggiated chords, it sounds like, where it feels like we're playing Frank soloing over a progression. And so it has this almost like uplifting feel, like, oh, this is, yes, this is, it's amazing. But it's all improvised, and it's like, it's mind-blowing. That goes into Ain't Got No Heart, which is a 2-minute breather before we get a 23-minute and 36-second Torture Never Stops. You get Torture in the third verse. After the Chattanooga Choo Choo thing, you get the jazz breakdown, flies all green and buzzing in the that whole thing with some like sing, speaking, talking, all that weirdness that Frank does. Then you get a really good Frank solo that again starts off somewhat hesitant, almost like he doesn't know what he's doing, but then quickly makes you realize he does know exactly what he's doing, and it's dark and weird, and Vinny and Arthur are there for the whole thing. And then when he's done soloing, Harris gets a like an electric piano solo. Tommy Mars gets a Tommy Mars solo. It sounds like, you know, Tommy Mars synthesizer, awesome solo, but it's a Tommy Mars solo. Kaliuta gets a drum solo. And then because Frank hasn't played enough guitar, Frank gets another ridiculous solo. And this one is just high energy, full throttle, almost like a boogie at times, just going at it. But at the same time, it's like, and then he's like playing these chords and like pushing along, and then he's ripping off these little licks down higher on the fret. It's insane, absolutely insane. Then he gives us a little break. We get Broken Hearts Are for Assholes. That goes into I'm So Cute. Essentially the same version that is on You Can't Do That on Stage Volume 6. That's from like 6 weeks later. Great addition to any set list. That song, that 1.5-minute song should have been around also for the rest of the 80s. And then the main set of the show closes out with Andy, which I think is one of Frank's best songs. After 74, it was not in a set list until 79. And then it came back here in 80, would then disappear until 88. The solo in this is as aggressive as all the other solos in the show. It's longer than most Andy solos would be. It just, as soon as we get into it, Frank's just playing dirty and nasty and just doesn't let go until we get back into the beautiful, glorious, majestic ending that is Andy. An amazing hour-plus run of music, just mind-boggling. Probably, maybe minute for minute, the best hour sequence in the ZFT release with those guitar solos. If you don't like guitar solos, you're going to disagree with me, but I can't think of any sequence of guitar solos that tops what is in this show, for me at least. It is ridiculous. But then we get the encores. We get Joe's Garage. Everybody loves Joe's Garage. That goes into Dancin' Fool. All right. Then we get Frank talking for 8 minutes and 53 seconds about the real world. Sort of his pre-blue light rambling, talking about the way people interact with each other. And there's a Black Sabbath reference, so we get a nice Black Sabbath, the song, little jam. Arthur Barrow clearly dropping the bass lines on that. That's interesting, but it's almost 9 minutes long. Then we get Stick It Out, which, okay, Barrow sounds amazing on this. The band sounds credible. We get I Don't Want to Get Drafted, which is actually really good, especially at the end because Harris whips out his trumpet, and it's nice to hear that trumpet being played on that da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, ba-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean, whatever. The end of that song. And then to close out what is a phenomenal main set of music, Bobby Brown and Miss Pinky. Yeah, that's a rough one. No Muffin Man or anything glorious. A Black Napkins, something like that would have just been like a nail in the cake that is this dessert of a show. But anyways, yeah, the beginning, a lot of songs that I enjoy because I know what's coming. I have to admit, once I get to Andy, I usually don't listen to the encore numbers because they're kind of rough. But that run of songs from Pick Me I'm Clean to Andy is probably just an incomparable, unbeatable sequence of music. If you look at set lists for this tour, They were pretty varied. Songs were generally played in chunks, and some things were every show. But you had a lot of things that were also played elsewhere on the, that are not in the show that were played on other shows. And the quality of the solos are so good on this that if there were to be like a road tapes series again or anything releasing more live shows, I think another fall 80s show deserves to be released. That is how strong that material is. And you could release shows that are maybe a little stronger in the ending and in the beginning, and balance this out. So anyways, that's what it is. Number 16, Buffalo. And the sound is amazing. Cannot go wrong with the sound. I love it. No complaints, obviously, other than the ones I gave. But the solos are friggin' ridiculous. Let me know what you think. If you have this, if you don't, if you get it, let me know if you think I'm right or wrong. Let me know why I'm wrong, if I am. But seriously, the solos are ridiculous. Subscribe. You can be the 100th person if I are, whatever. I'm done.